Hey Zwifters, I'm Simon Schofield. This is Nathan Guerra. And this is the Zwiftcast, coming up on this episode. As Strava lets slip an intriguing stat, we meet the indoor athlete. A glimpse behind the scenes at ZCL Central on a big stream day for Nathan. And young Maya, at just 9 years old, has Zwift racing nailed. And here I am in the Midwest of the USA, Wisconsin, namely. Can you just pronounce the name of your town, please, Nathan?
Oconomowoc.
Yeah, well, you make it sound really easy. Well, for non-specialists in American geography, it's near Milwaukee. And I've been recording behind the scenes with Nathan today as he commentated on a really, really exciting e-crit race. And I have discovered that ZCL Central, Nathan, doubles as your laundry room.
Yes, it does double as a laundry room. It has multifunctional pain cave, ZCL, and we get laundry done for 7 individuals in one household.
Yeah, it's a very efficient use of space, viewers and listeners, I have to tell you. And more of that later. I hope to bring you a bit of a video on that, of Nathan, kind of behind the scenes with Nathan in this episode, but that largely depends on whether I get a chance to get it edited, because I'm kind of on the road at the moment, as is obvious. And live from Melbourne, Australia, g'day mate, Shane Miller. Are you recovered from the long journey, fella?
No, I still have not recovered. I caught the inevitable man flu, catching so many flights, going from hot weather to cold weather and talking to so many people. I've caught something. So there's a bit of man flu, there's a bit of jet lag, but nothing a good coffee can't resolve. And I can report the coffee in New York was fantastic. Now, what I want to know, Simon, how's the cheese?
Well, do you know what? This entire episode, I think, is going to consist of me largely eating my words. Not only cheese-related humble pie, there may be some running-related humble pie. Hang on for that one. And what was I horrible about American beer? If I was, I'm terribly, terribly sorry. American beer is fantastic. I've had some fantastic American cheese, and we'll get onto the running thing in a moment. In fact, let's start with the running thing. Shane, the kind of dust has settled a bit now on the launch. The community's kind of had a chance to digest it. What do you make of the reaction within the community? I mean, I have to say, I did notice one. I hope it was a lone voice, but one lone voice whinging loudly about having to subsidise free runners would seem to be the gist of his arguments.
Us cyclists, or we cyclists, had access to Zwift for free for how many years was it? It was a long beta period. So I'll cut them a bit of slack with that. I mean, running is still in beta. Well, running free access is, I guess, their beta version of that. Look, what I'm seeing, the uptake, there's quite a few new people in Zwift Runners coming along, asking a few technical questions. But I think if people already had a treadmill and knew about Zwift, they were already running anyway. But we are getting a few new people trickling or just running in, I guess you'd call it. I think this is a bit of a slow burn. And like myself, I've got to go, a few other people, they've got to go find a treadmill to get up and running. So yeah, I think this is a bit of a slow burn, but good response so far. It hasn't been what I thought would have been the standard snobby roadie runners. What are they doing in our environment? It's actually been pretty good. So all positive so far.
Well, I mean, we are two tribes when all's said and done. We do love each other, but we are two tribes. Nathan, any plans to cross the line, my friend? It's running.
I'm excited about running, and seeing it on the platform and other people get excited about it has me wanting to, but you saw my space. I don't think there's going to be a treadmill fit in there anytime soon. And the official from Zwift to me, as far as ZCL stuff goes, don't worry about it. Outside of being more of a host toward and the personality toward bringing everything under an umbrella, and make space for that. So we're actually excited about bringing in people from the running community into the live streaming space actually a lot more and doing things with them about all the awesomeness they create through running. So that's what I'm seeing on my side of things. I'll have to find space for a treadmill if I want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, viewers and listeners, something of a Damascene Road conversion for me, well, maybe. It has to be said that I have been on record as not being wildly over-enthusiastic about running in the past. And I'm going to, well, I'm not sure that I'm going to change my mind, but I'm going to give myself a chance to change my mind. So I am going to start running. Yeah, Okay, I am going to start running. I mean, I've got some good reasons for that. One, running is now part of Zwift. We're on the Zwiftcast. Shane's already indicated that he's going to keep abreast of running. I think it's probably only right that I do too. So that's one reason. The second reason is I really, really, really need to start doing some load-bearing exercise. It was interesting you talked about lifting there. I don't do any load-bearing exercise at all. I do no impact exercise of any kind at all. I'm not getting any younger. As you do get as age kind of creeps up on you, that kind of exercise does become much, much, much more important. So there's another good reason. And three, this sounds negative, but winter's not being kind to my waistline. A few kilos, additional kilos, I'm afraid to say, have been accrued. The American meal portions are not doing the cheese and the beer. The American meal portions are not doing that particular campaign any
I think
good
we're
at
going
all.
to somewhere called the Crafty Cow, maybe.
Yeah,
So,
I know. I've gone down from 3 meals a day to 2, which I think has been very wise whilst I'm in America. But anyway, I'm going to give running a proper go, and I'll bring regular updates to loyal listeners and viewers as to how I'm getting on with it. We need a title for this little strand. I think I might call it The Reluctant Runner.
The Reluctant Runner. Oh my goodness.
That sounds too negative. No, but anyway, that is what is going to happen. Okay, well, still sort of sticking with running and indoor sports, really. Shane and I talked about this when we were in New York, and unfortunately it fell victim to the horrible technical nightmare we had there. So I thought it was worth rerunning this. The Strava CEO, James Qualls, gave an interview to a website called Recode, and he came out with a stat that just had my jaw agape. I mean, it was incredible. And this is the stat he came out with. He said that only a mere 1/3 of all Strava activities had a GPS track. Now, what that means clearly is that 2/3 don't. And he went on to say that 56% of that 2/3, I guess, of all Strava activities take place indoors. So we know for a fact, Nathan, that half of all Strava activities by their admission take place indoors. There's kind of a missing 11% there, which might be sort of manual uploads and, rogue stuff. But, I mean, the point being that for the first time we've quantified how much athletic activity is going on indoors. It's more than half of all
that uploads to Strava.
Yeah,
that uploads to
and
Strava.
are uploaded to Strava.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. But I mean that's pretty representative, I think, of athletic activity, and it's more than half. It could be as high as 2/3. That's an awful lot of cycling and other stuff going on indoors.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I might push back a little bit there. I see a lot of people who don't know what Strava is at the gym doing all kinds of athletic activity inside. Ain't nobody riding a spin bike uploading to Strava. I mean, at a spin class.
Some people might.
Some people might, but I mean, what percentage though? Yeah. And if that percentage goes up, so I think that there's a large amount of population outside of just that half that are on Strava that would bring that up even further. I think the indoor exercise reality is it is a much larger segment than our bubble understands.
Yeah. I think that's the point I'm kind of trying to get
totally,
across.
Yeah.
I mean, Shane, it's much more your area of expertise, this kind of crunching through data and trying to interpret what it might mean. What's your interpretation on that stat that the Strava CEO came out with?
Initially, it was quite surprising. I thought, well, wasn't Strava really focused around the outdoors and tracking what you're doing outdoors? And I guess a few years ago, this stat would have been absolutely mind-blowing. But with the advent of all these things here, which is your fitness trackers, your heart rate monitors with tracking in them, even FootPods nowadays will track your data, and you can then upload those to these services such as Strava. And the Strava API is accessed by almost anything. So nearly any device these days can upload straight to Strava. So we're seeing people with more and more fitness tracking devices or activity tracking that are now accessing Strava. So I think in 2018, it's not surprising when we look at why this could be the case, but still, that's pretty phenomenal that so many people are tracking their activities or tracking their exercise indoors and uploading it to the service such as Strava. I think it's great to see, but as I think what Nathan said there's going to be a lot of people out there just going for a run or just going to the gym and doing a session without even tracking that. So I think that number is going to be even bigger.
Yeah. I think it probably is kind of, it's not particularly clean data, this, but to me, it was very directional. For the first time, it showed us what a big market segment indoor activity is. And on that, Nathan, I've not asked you this. Shane and I did discuss it in New York, and we didn't get your view, so it'd be really good to get it. Do you think running on Zwift could be bigger than cycling?
Yes, if the market is brought in. The market's just bigger. It just is. I mean, running is...
More runners.
Yeah, there's a reason why soccer is bigger than cycling. Everybody picks up a ball and starts running. Running is way easier to do than cycling for the entire population of the world. And so there's just more runners out there.
And more treadmills. I mean, Zwift think there are more treadmills.
The first time I thought about indoor exercise was a treadmill or lifting. That's the most basic understanding of indoor exercise, I think. And the contraptions at that time is how I would have thought it. That is an ergonomic, a trainer, a smart trainer, or whatever you might be using, whatever kind of trainer it might be, was another step into that world, another step into getting set up. Treadmill was much more obvious, I think, to all the general population as far as indoor exercise goes.
Yeah. I mean, we do know that a lot of them have been used as clothes horses. I was talking to somebody actually who works in the fitness industry yesterday, and he actually told me, Shane, you'll love this. He told me that when he worked for a company that worked very closely with a treadmill company, and when a treadmill company was looking at the design of a treadmill, they checked it out for how efficient it was at hanging clothes. He swore. I mean, he swore this was true.
The one treadmill that we have in the family here, not at this house, in the in-laws, is where I hang my towel and my bike gear to dry when I'm over there on holiday. So, yeah, it holds true for sure. They need little coat hanger racks around them, and they'll sell like hotcakes for sure.
Well, listen, we shouldn't be rude at all about treadmill owners. I'm sure everybody who watches or listens to the podcast uses a treadmill for its primary purpose, not its secondary purpose. And one guy who absolutely certainly does that is an Australian guy called Ben Shepherd. I met Ben a few weeks ago when I was in Australia, and this item has been out elsewhere, but not on the podcast. So in light of recent developments with running, I thought it was worth running this on the podcast. Ben is a very, very successful triathlete, been to Kona, and he does upwards of 90% of his training for running and cycling indoors. Let's meet Ben.
I was a pack-a-day smoker, and I was drinking maybe a carton of beer a week. I hit 90 kilos, 95 at one point, and couldn't see my own toes. I came back from about a 15k bike ride, and I thought that was huge at the time. And looked in the mirror and went, I look like an Easter egg. That was the trigger for me to start exercising a lot more seriously. I never thought I'd get into triathlon. I was... as I said, I was a cyclist. I dabbled in a little bit of running, and I couldn't swim to save my life. I think my first swim that I ever did was 250 metres. It took me about 4 hours. My very first triathlon, which I did in about 2013, was a 300-metre swim. And for me, that was absolutely terrifying.
But Ben made rapid progression.
I did my first half Ironman in 2014. For me, I wanted to go 6 hours. I ended up going 5 hours 15. Surprised myself in all three legs. And from then the bug hit, because I went, okay, 5:15, I know that I'm potentially capable of going sub 5. And then I've kept on going from there. Even doing the half Ironman, I remember seeing people with the M. tattoo and going, wow, these people are gods, to me. That's the pinnacle of the sport. Hawaii is the hometown, it's the birthplace, and that's the holy grail.
But the holy grail was closer than Ben thought.
I did my first Ironman in the now unfortunately extinct Melbourne. I thought I was in the ballpark of about 12 hours for that. It was a beautiful course. It's a shame that it's not around anymore, but I went a 10:37, and surprisingly enough, I qualified for Kona in my division that year. Unfortunately, I couldn't go due to work commitments.
Disappointing, but Ben then qualified for Kona 2016 after racing at Cannes.
I came second in my division. And ended up accepting the slot to Kona, and when I did it last year, yeah.
And how did you get on a Kona?
I actually had a shocker of a day. It was a number of different things. I actually got a bit of a knee injury just before Ironman Cairns, and I could limp through Cairns, but unfortunately it delayed me a lot with my running. In that period as well, I had the blessing of my daughter Isabella, who came along, and she was 7 weeks old when we travelled to Kona. So I think that took the focus away from Kona, from the actual race day prep and execution. So at Kona, I ended up going a 12:11 or thereabouts. It was an incredibly tough day in my mind, easily the hardest race I've ever done, and a lot of athletes say that, and I can understand now why. But for me, I was probably about 5 to 7 kilos overweight. You know, I was rocking my dad bod, and it was very intimidating. It really was, and not performing to the best of my ability left a splinter under my skin somewhere, and I won't feel content now until I go back and prove my worth over there. So
Unfinished business then for you with Kona?
Absolutely. I'll be back.
Ben's family commitments, combined with a demanding job in aviation, means, for the time being at least, he's concentrating on shorter course competitions.
So at the moment, I'm doing the Olympic distance, so the 1.5 kilometre swim, the 40k ride, and a 10k run. And honestly, it's a distance that scares me. It's terrifying because the top athletes get over the line and they collapse because they've left it all out there. The Olympic distance racing is just go from the moment that the gun goes off. 2 hours of really hurting yourself. So it's a very different sort of race aspect and training. I would hazard a guess at least 80% of my running is done on Zwift. For me, the run training's always been tough, especially through winter. Get up in the dark, go home in the dark, train in the dark. It's really tough to get that motivation. You know, dogs chasing you, cars, you know, cold, wet, damp, whatever. For me, I can train in the same kit all year round. You know, if it's too cold, I put a heater on. If it's too hot, I put a fan on. I can dial in the numbers on the treadmill, and that will reflect on Zwift, whether it's, you know, within point X of a kilometre per hour, but we can still see those surges, we can still look at the heart rate, we can still use the data that I'm gathering from that. The other thing that I really like about it is that I can wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I can be running by 10 past 4, I'm done, I'm here, I can shower.
With 80% of his running and currently 100% of his cycling done inside, does Ben ever miss the great outdoors?
Yeah, sometimes I do. On a beautiful day, you kind of go, you know what, I'd love to be able to get outside and do that. But I never thought I'd say this, but my number one priority is my family. My daughter really changed my perspective. And, you know, as we said, I don't get paid to do triathlons. So unfortunately, I'm always going to have to work. You know, I'd love to be paid. That'd be brilliant. I don't like going into things half-cocked. For example, if I'm going to get down to our local bike track, that's a 30-minute drive plus the prep, plus loading the bike in and all that sort of stuff. Some days, yes, I would much rather be out drinking in the sunshine and chilling out with a couple of friends. But what I'm gaining from sacrificing that is just so worth it at the end of the day. I'm 100% solo athlete. That's the way I race. You know, in non-drafting events, you can't race with anybody else. So I'm starting to train more and more the way that I would race.
But is the quality as high? The proof is in the numbers.
I did an Olympic distance triathlon in 2014, and I did that in 2 hours and 41 minutes. And that was all outdoor training. I did a race up in Townsville in the middle of August, and I went at 2:08 with a mechanical on the bike.
Wow.
That was 100% of indoor training.
Wow.
Potentially a better athlete. And yeah, I agree there is a balance for bike handling skills, etc. But for those big sets, the big weeks where you're building the endurance, the muscular strength and endurance sort of stuff, I don't think it can be matched.
Great guy, Ben, and quite a story that, and one I think that we might see increasingly repeated as running takes a hold on Zwift. Now, before I came here to Nathan's, where I've been very kindly received, I visited Cyclops or Saris or PowerTap, they're all the same company, who are just an hour down the road. They're the makers of the Hammer and the Magnus, amongst many other cycling products. They've been watching with extreme levels of interest the whole rocker plate movement in the Zwift community. And there is absolutely something definitely quite large cooking in their R&D department. I just tried to get a little bit more on the record out of the company, and this is as much as I got out of Eric Albers. Here's what I managed to wrestle out of Eric. I mean, where are you on rocker plates? What's your position? What's your likely move on them?
The whole movement has, I think, I don't want to say caught the industry off guard, but maybe a little bit, because once you get to a point where the consumer is solving the problem instead of the manufacturer, you're probably behind the eight ball a little bit. So it is an area that we have interest in and are exploring. Whether or not we'll have a product in the near future, it's tough to tell right now.
But in active development?
I would say advanced development.
Well, I think that's probably about as much as I'm going to get out of you.
That might be about it. Right
but certainly very, very interesting, I think, to many Zwifters. So, I mean, does this suggest that you as a company, when you do your kind of blue sky thinking, that the next move forward actually is going to be more about immersion and replication of the real life environment, rather than who's got the most accurate trainer, who's got the quietest trainer, all those kind of things that we've been talking about actually for some time now?
I think so. I think that's where you're going to see winners come out, because the accuracy and the quietest trainer, they've been beat up over the last few years, and it's tough to say who's the best here and there. But I think the real winner is going to be who can create that immersive environment for the rider. And I think that's going to be a big direction for the industry in the next few years.
Shane, we're both limited by what we can say. I know you've been to Wahoo. I know you've had a bit of a sneak peek. I must tell people I did have a bit of a sneak peek of something pretty interesting at Cyclops yesterday. But in the spirit of these things, we're shown these things, and we can't talk about them. That's only fair. But we can, I think, say with some confidence that Eurobike this year, which is going to be in July, is going to be a pretty damn sight more exciting than Eurobike was last year.
I hope so. Look, last year, we went 2 years ago, and there was some pretty cool new technology there. Last year, unfortunately, became the e-bike show, and not a lot in regards to the power meters, the heart rate monitors. We had the climb announced from Wahoo, but we haven't quite seen the climb just yet. It should be out any day now. This year would want to be big. This year needs to be almost a recovery year for cycling. There needs to be some excitement. A lot of people already have smart trainers. If you're listening to the Zwiftcast, you probably own a smart trainer. But what's next? We want to see what's next. What can we do with these smart trainers, or what are we going to purchase next? These companies can't just sit around. So it sounds like they're not just sitting around. Let's hope in less than 5 months' time, because Eurobike's coming around a lot sooner this year, we have something new to buy, something new to get excited about, and something to get some more kilometers or miles on Zwift with, and in a better way.
Well, the buzzword I'm hearing, and I'll come to you on this, Nathan, actually, because it's kind of straight from gaming, really. The buzzword I'm hearing is immersion.
Yeah, I think immersion is going to be huge. And making it as much like the response of a moving bike, though, because that's what's happening in the game. The bikes and the avatars are moving. You need to interact with that moving that's taking place there as best as you possibly can with your physical effort. And right now, being locked in to a stationary trainer, there's a lot of different products, it seems like, out there on the cost that are going to try and make that more interactive. Yeah.
Well, movement is certainly a key word, and we can't say any more at this point. But watch this space. There's some really, really, really interesting stuff coming down the track. Okay. Nathan, if I get time, which I really hope I will, I'll edit some of the stuff that I shot with you today, because to me it was quite a revelation, actually. I've seen, as many Zwifters would have done, I've seen and admired your work on the stream, and I've often wondered what it looks like behind the scenes. And Yeah, I mean, you do manage an awful lot in a really, really small space. I mean, just the amount of kit in there. I mean, I was in there for 20 minutes and it was getting really, really warm. You know, I mean, and I have to say, I'm rather kind of more lost in admiration for you than I was before, really, because it's amazing what you achieve in there.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, I've been at it. You know, I said it earlier in the recording we did, and doing it for a year and a half, and it started with a laptop and a mic, and that was it. You know what I mean? A laptop and a mic and some capture software, and then you just keep adding. You know what I mean? And if you want to keep upping the production, I mean, lots of late nights and early mornings, and then when the people start, you know, you start building a community of viewership too on top of that is like thinks it's awesome, and you want to keep on making it more awesome for them. You know what I mean? That's what's driven it on mainly. So really it's like lots of feedback too, and like always just kind of hammering on your craft, you know? So that's mainly where all that's come from. It's like riding your bike, I guess. You learn it and then you just keep on getting better.
Well, yeah, but it was it was a big day today for Nathan because it was front page of Twitch. You know, huge streaming service, very, very big in the games world. And I mean, you looked at some numbers at the end and you think that you probably brought something like between 75,000 and maybe 100,000 by the time it's finished new sets of eyeballs.
So I think on Twitch alone, I think we pushed 50,000 new viewers. And then on, new eyeballs that saw Zwift either on the front page or actually came to our channel and visited. And chatted. You saw the email notifications afterward. We had an entire scroll through of all new followers on there. And on top of that was one of our best Zwift Facebook streams as well. I think we hit 7,000 at live. And that will have VOD then turnover too. And we had quite a few viewers on YouTube actually for the first time in a while. So it did really, really well. We really upped the productions this time around. I don't know if you could tell, but we really wanted to do our best to introduce Zwift, because most of the people who watch our race broadcast most of the time have an understanding completely of what's going on with Zwift.
But Hargreaves showing us who's got the sprint. It's Tom Hargreaves off the front, 12 watts per kilogram all day long. Tom Hargreaves gonna be taking it. Ponceline tries, but it's not going to happen.
And so we did a lot of pre-production, tell you what's going on, what's happening with this race series, what is Zwift, how do you get involved. We showed a lot of promo video, but then also a lot of lead up to. We brought Quentin in for analyzing. We had Kim Little live, which was really cool to have him on there live to see all the real world effort, because people become unattached from the avatar and the real world effort. And you got to show that to be like, this is real heart rates, real muscle throwing this down right now and controlling those avatars, and being able to see that really helped a lot too. So it was a big day. We're really happy that Twitch is interested in fitness. Like, obviously they are. They have a whole fitness community now that's pushing these things. And because of that, they're willing to partner with us and get Zwift out there. Dealing with that we do. So
excellent work, Nathan.
Thanks.
My admiration for you has grown.
So now, Zwiftcast. It's time to do a Zwiftcast.
10 minutes for a cup of tea, probably a cup of coffee for you, and straight into a Zwiftcast.
Seems good. All right.
The thing that struck me, I think, Shane, but I mean, I've always kind of known this intellectually. I think sort of being there physically for the first time and seeing that kind of pile of stuff that came in after Nathan finished the broadcast. This is how marketing is done these days, isn't it? I mean, you know, obviously there are still billboards and TV ads and stuff, but streaming is amazingly efficient marketing.
Yeah, absolutely, because you've got the audience that actually wants to know about this. As Nathan said, the fitness community, if they've got a fitness demographic there, it'll be marketed straight to those people. So it's a more condensed version rather than the shotgun approach of just putting a billboard up and having thousands or hundreds of thousands of people drive past it and not actually execute on anything like that. So there's no real conversion there. If you're advertising or you're in the eyes of the people who are into fitness, into computers, into technology, it's brilliant. So 7,000 quality sets of eyes trumps 700,000 who won't even look at it again. So this is brilliant. Yeah. And I like to see it. We're seeing this more and more across every facet of the internet. It's good to see.
really. Like I say, it just brought it home to me today, I think, for the first time actually being in physical proximity, what a powerful marketing tool streaming is. And of course, Nathan's stream today, as it nearly always is, was based around racing. It's a pretty unusual Zwiftcast when we don't talk a little bit about racing, and we're going to talk about it in slightly strong terms in a minute. But first, let's look at the more positive side of racing, because we are going to get a bit negative, I'm afraid. But the more positive side of racing. And I had the chance to talk to Maya and her dad, Rob. Maya's only 9 years old and an incredibly enthusiastic racer on Zwift, part of a small but very dedicated scene of very young junior racing, under 11s on Zwift. And here's Maya and her dad. But Maya, do you understand how drafting works?
You use 30% less energy when you're going head to someone's wheel because they're blocking the wind.
She may be only 9 years old, but Maya's got her head right round bike racing.
It's more about having fun, but we do strategy from the beginning. Like we go out like in kind of like a sprint for like a minute.
Yeah. Everybody does that, Maya. Maya was introduced to bike racing on Zwift by her dad, Rob, a keen Zwifter. Back then, around a year ago, fields were pretty small.
Maya wanted to try it, and the first race in July, I think there were 4 people, and Maya did it, and she had a lot of fun because it was her first time interacting with Zwift with others, even though there were only 4 racers.
The first race was really cool, but from the start I kind of wish that there were more kids because there's only 4 kids.
Fast forward today, last week there were 25 U11 racers.
It's grown so quickly that race promoter KISS has taken the junior section under its wing with its own branding known as KISS Next Generation. That's a big step up from 4 only a few months ago.
Exactly. And the coolest thing in the beginning was it's an amazing lesson for kids when they see the flags of the country of origin.
Yeah.
It turned into an educational lesson for Maya and I, because I would say, Maya, where is this country? Norway, Germany, Italy, based on the flag. So it was kind of cool in that respect too.
What some Zwifters may not realise is there's a great perk for kids on the platform. Well, for their parents at least.
All kids under 13 can join Zwift for free. There's sort of no barrier for entry. As long as your parents have a paying account, if you are under 13, you can ride for free.
As in other areas of cycling and indeed Zwifting, there are more boys than girls currently engaged in junior racing. But Rob's observed signs of that gap beginning to shrink.
Females are still disproportionately underrepresented, but I got to tell you, females are underrepresented, at least in the U.S., in all disciplines of cycling.
Yeah.
Maya, in real life, at least in the junior field, and they were about 24%. In the last 4 weeks on Zwift, it's been higher than in real life. It's been 30 to 48%.
Do you think that it's important for you to race with both boys and girls, or would you like to ride with just girls alone, or maybe just boys alone? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to race with more girls, but I'm just happy that kids are actually riding bikes.
At under 11, the races are relatively short. And for junior racing as a whole, Rob thinks that we should take a more relaxed attitude to equipment and power readings.
I really think at their age, while it's important, just like in real life, to have fair racing, having a kicker or a power meter seems actually absolutely ludicrous for me. There should be no barrier for entry out there for any child. Let's just get kids on Zwift and racing. Let's not worry about the results, and let's let that all sort it out. I would hate to see parents saying, well, we can't do it because we don't have a smart trainer, or my child doesn't have a power meter.
May I just say that both of you, Maya as well, in particular, in fact, are fantastic ambassadors for U11 racing on Zwift. Thanks so much for talking. It's a great pleasure to talk to both of you. Thanks very much indeed for your time.
Thank you very much, Simon. We are loyalists, to Zwift and your Zwiftcast. So
Well,
we look
great.
forward to hearing it.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much. Okay, Nathan, I'm going to come to you on this. I am going to come to you, but kind of let Shane and I set our stall out a bit, really, because I think Shane and I are actually a bit of the same mind here. Shane, I don't want to kind of take your words out of your mouth, but this is sort of the way I'm feeling about things at the moment, about the adult racing scene on Zwift. I'm getting a bit bored, impatient, frustrated and annoyed, actually, with how little it appears to be moving forward, how fractious the community is, how there are some, how can you put it, some sort of wings of the racing community that perhaps ought to be working together a little more closely and don't seem to be. Every time I go onto the racers page, there seems to be nothing but trouble and conflict and accusation, and just doesn't seem a very nice place at the moment. I mean, I know racing is competitive and it attracts type A personalities, and you know, it's so easy to get into an argument on the internet, but do you feel like I feel at the moment, just kind of frustrated with it all?
For sure. Look, I've stepped away from the competitive side of Zwift and have for the last probably 8 months or so for a number of reasons. But look, as an observer now of all that, and I think we are in a little bit of a bubble because we are across all the internet forums. And if you stay abreast of all the internet forums, all you see is the negativity. I'm sure there are thousands of people out there who are racing and they're in it for themselves, are really enjoying the process, but being very, very ingrained in it, as we are for our research with Zwiftcast and everything we do around Zwift, which is, you know, I mean, all three of us live and breathe this stuff. There is a lot of negativity happening around and flowing around. It's eating itself. We keep being told that, you know, Zwift racing will be the next big thing. We keep being told that. We need to stop being told that and just let it happen. Let it do its thing. Let it move itself forward. I think what we see is a lack of control by any one body involved. Now, there's multiple series, there's multiple groups, there's Zwift not officially supporting racing, but they come in and they're now promoting the racing, but are they really promoting it? Because they're handballing it off to zwiftpower.com, which then there's the Zada, you know, there's rules around that. There's people questioning some superstars, there's people questioning random. It's all, there's nobody has the reins, nobody is in control. I'd love to see somebody, maybe Zwift, come in and just say, look, let's sort this out, let's clean house, let's assign roles, let's assign responsibilities, let's assign what people can do around the platform.
Am I wrong, Nathan? I mean, am I wrong to be frustrated? I thought the best point Shane made there was it needs like one body, one person to kind of grab it by the scruff of the neck and say, this is how it's going to be, you know? Yeah, exactly. Now, you know, I would really understand it if that was not Zwift because, you know, reasons we've debated endlessly before. There aren't that many races on the platform. They make a lot of noise, but there aren't that many of them. Am I wrong to be frustrated and impatient?
It's not ready. The esport isn't built into the game yet.
Yeah.
So you do have the roads and the competition there, and you can get racing done, right? And so I shouldn't say that blanket statement. That's not a blanket statement. There are things you can do with it right now. We could add more game to the game, though. Like, we could add more tactic. We could add more things to do to make it more tactically interesting. But even if we do that, what you guys are getting at, though, is governance.
Yeah,
what you guys are getting at is
it's boring.
governance.
I mean, governance, unfortunately, is boring, but it's incredibly necessary.
For rankings, right? Yeah. Now, I want to take this out of Zwift and bring this to general and say that, and I said this during the cast today as well, during the cast on Twitch, because we had more viewers on Twitch that don't know about Zwift than we had people watching that know about Zwift, right? And they all understood what I said when I said BattleEye is the Zada of the gaming world in both Fortnite and PUBG right now. Those two are the biggest battleground or battle royale games out there right now, first-person shooters. BattleEye is banning accounts. Boom, 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 like I mean, right now, just now, 5,000 accounts just got banned or some number like that.
Just so
right?
we know, who is BattleEye?
BattleEye watches virtually online the interactions between individuals in competitive format and says that's a cheater. That's a cheater. Right. That's a cheater.
And they're an independent organization.
And they're independent of the games. So the games aren't banning people without the third party coming in and going, this is our job. We know what we're doing. And comes in and...
But the game must then give the third party permission to ban.
Gives the third party permission. Not only that, the game gives the third party like built-in application to their game.
Yeah.
Like
Zwift aren't going to do that. Zwift
are
not going, when they're on record, saying they're no way are they going to do that.
Well... If BattleEye has authority, though, like let's say now let's remove it and put it back into Zwift, and Zwift says we're not going to do that, but they say BattleEye will do that, and we'll give BattleEye tools to do it. That would be Zwift not doing it. The race organizers would be doing it then.
Tough problem to try and resolve, but I think the governance, as Nathan was talking about, needs a bit of a shake up. But it also comes down to more tools. And as I said before, we used to race well before Zwift even thought of racing. So I think we are still way, way ahead of Zwift themselves. But I can't wait to see what's coming up in the future. And my fingers are crossed that more tools, and especially for those tools that Nathan uses and everybody streaming as well, because that's what we saw in Adelaide. It's not just a training tool now. It's an entertainment platform. We saw that at the Tour Down Under with the duathlon. That got so many people revved up and cheering. And I'm like, it really opened my mind to what streaming can be and will be in the near future with a few little tweaks. A lot of stuff to digest there for sure.
A little bit though that I didn't get to talk about just a little bit is this is not only our problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Like we see Zwifters always be like, it'll never work. Bah! And I'm like, it works in every other game who has exactly the same issues. Literally the exact same issues. BattleEye exists, Zada exists. They're essentially the same thing. So it can work. It is working. We're just smaller than they are right now.
And less well developed, I think.
Yes,
the game itself.
Well, I don't know. PUBG is not very well developed. And neither is Fortnite. And they're doing and there's a whole lot of people out there going, broken game. So I just think they're just smaller.
Yeah.
Look, I think a solution for this is talking about the believability of the racing and people believing its true efforts. I think there may not be a way to solve this with current technology, with smart trainers and power meters and sort of malicious manipulation of those. If we introduce more gaming to the side of it as well, that can be negated. So it ups the entertainment side of things, maybe downs the legitimate, are they going to be the next world champion Peter Sagan, beta? That doesn't really matter for this. But if we can up the entertainment value, which then increases the people's ability to jump on, train hard so they can go outside, I think that may be a way of getting around the issues that we see with power accuracy and believability. Somebody can jump in at 45 kilos, someone can jump in with a high reading power meter, but if they can't play the game, if they can't play with the new gamification, they're going to be out the back. That's what I'd love to see as a solution for this. Maybe not all races, but if there's an option to do that, I think this could be a way to go.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a full solution. It's a part of the solution. Another part of the solution is clearly the game to get more advanced, not just in gamification, but perhaps in steering and, other things that we have long talked about that could have an impact on racing. Anyway, God, blimey, racing. I mean, we've talked about it so often, and I'm sure we'll talk about it again. It's a big part of the platform. Maybe not in numbers, but in profile and in what people see of Zwift and in what people want to do on Zwift. So I do think there's a thirst for me, if I could do one thing, if I could, wave a magic wand, it would be one system of governance, one set of rules, and every single race organizer has to subscribe to those set of rules. I do think that would make a huge difference.
I don't think you're going to have the utopia Zwiftopia, man.
Yeah, I know. You're right. Okay, I'm sure we'll come back to this one. Anyway, one person who likes to race on Zwift, actually, because he told me so in an interview just about to hear, is a guy called OJ Borg. Now, OJ will be well known, I think, to British viewers and listeners because he's got a really good cycling magazine show on Radio 5 Live, BBC Radio 5 Live. I think it goes out monthly, called Bespoke. Good show, actually. And OJ is an enthusiastic Zwifter, enthusiastic racer, so I thought it was about time I had a bit of a chat with him. But as well as a cyclist of some repute, you're also a bit of a gamer, so it's kind of no surprise to find out that you're a long-time Zwifter. What's your history with Zwift?
I borrowed a turbo trainer because I didn't have a smart trainer at the time, and I had a go on it, and I was instantly hooked. And for me, it was just bananas. The fact that, I play a lot of computer games, as you said, I work in esports, and I also do cycling podcasts and the rest of it. It was just bananas. That was the way of mixing the two together. And I've tried to explain it to people since, and I still do now. And it's a difficult thing to explain. I think it's obviously a lot wider known now, but yeah, I was trying to explain it that it was like going for a bike ride while playing Mario Kart. The fact that you have power ups, the fact that you go around laps, the fact that you can race on it. And for me now, I was actually going to jump on and have a bit of a Zwift ride in a second, but I love the races. The races for me still blow my mind. It's a great way to be competitive, and I've got no time. I've got a daughter, I've got a job, got a dog who's not well who's sat next to me. It's just a perfect way of getting a bit of competition into your day.
Well, do you think Zwift should be more gamey? I mean, coming from your gaming background, would you like to see more gaming?
Yes, I would. I think the more games that are in there, the better. I think it's one of those things that keeps you interested. And if it keeps you interested, it will keep you training longer. Zwift isn't the first thing to mix games with a sport, as it were, because Formula One was doing that for a while. If you look at the origins of how Lewis Hamilton got to where he was, he raced around on McLaren's simulator. That's how he got so good. He'd raced around the Maranello racetrack 5,000 times before he actually ever raced there. That was how he did it. And it's a fabulous line of creating competition and fitness at the same time. And so if there's more ways to put games together, I don't know what they've got in the pipeline. I'm always up for that. More ideas, more games, more fun ways of turboing.
I mean, what cyclists are like. I mean, a lot of them are quite traditional. A lot of them are quite, I don't know, stick in the mud is maybe a bit harsh, but this is an interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, is Zwift changing that, or is it just changing it for some cyclists? Yeah.
There's always been a side of cyclists, especially maybe the younger end, who are into computer games. If someone my age, I'm 30, what am I, 38 or 39? 38. People my age grew up with computer games. I still play computer games every evening. If I swung my laptop around now, you'd see there's a PlayStation sat underneath my TV. I still play it of an evening when everyone's gone to bed. So I don't think it's necessarily that Zwift is changing things. There's just always been a level of cyclists who didn't have this facility to combine their love of computer games and their want to ride bikes. It's never been there. There will always be traditionalists, and sometimes traditionalists are that for a reason. They're just pains in the ass. They're grumpy for the sake of it because it's seen as the way to be. I'm going to be grumpy because that's the way us cyclists have always been. But it's not. I don't think it's necessarily changing things.
Your expertise cuts across so many areas of interest for Zwift and Zwifters. Esports. Do you see cycling as having a future in esports? I mean, could it happen?
It depends on your definition of esports. Now, esports primarily is about games like CS, which is Counter-Strike, or League of Legends, or Dota, so the MOBAs or the first-person shooters. In the broadest terms of the word, Zwift is more of an esport than they are, because it is a computer game that you have to pedal with your own fitness. It takes that strength to do it. With the World Championships, I think it is. For me, I've always been very open-minded about esports. I think esports is anything you want to call it. In the same way, if you talk about traditional sports, darts is a sport. If you say darts is a sport and you play darts and you want it to be a sport, then it's a sport. So it is an esports if it wants to be. It's just got to keep pushing it and bringing more and more of these cyclists who would normally not have gone anywhere close to esports, thinking it's for young people or nerds or something like that. So I think definitely keep doing it.
Maybe OJ, thanks very much indeed for your time. Thanks very much indeed, mate.
Simon, you're the man. Enjoy the mate. I love the podcast as well. So keep on going.
Thank you very much. Mutual back scratching. I love a bit of that. So time to wrap this one up. Now, the new running me, the runner reinvented, the reluctant runner, whatever we're going to call this thing, he's also going to have, for the first time ever in his cycling life, a coach. So this is like a complete reinvention of Mr. Old, Fat and Slow, I think. I hope. Probably not, but anyway. But I'm going to get a coach. Nathan, I know you are a coach, but have you ever been coached?
Yes, actually. It was one of the best learning experiences, actually, in how I became a coach. I learned so much. Danny Calcola, actually, out of Southern California. Really, really great, really experienced coach. Learned a ton from him, actually, and then brought that into my own. And then I was self-coached after that. And he got busy, and we, I was able to glean a ton, and then take that into my own philosophies and develop my own ideas around how to be a mountain biker, the best mountain biker I could possibly be. And so it was a great, great experience to have somebody to reflect off of and learn their, as the light comes through a prism, you got different parts of that you can see, and he saw certain things that I couldn't see, and that was really amazing to get those ideas from him. So and move forward. So it was really good.
Shane, I think I'm right in saying, despite your, excellent, proper achievements on a bike, you've never been coached. Is that right?
I have been coached for 1 year. My history with cycling was about 2003. I think I took up the sport competitively. 2007, I started training with power, and then I got really into the numbers. Well, obviously, it's sort of what I do. I'm fascinated by the technology and the science behind it also. Self-coached up until 2013. I had a coach for a year. Now, this, not to say anything negative about coaches, that was my worst year performance-wise. But what I learned from that, though, it broke me through all the barriers that I had, because you'll always, reach a certain point and you'll plateau. You need that external influence. And what I got from that year of external coaching was not really what worked for me from the whole year around, but there were a few key intervals that I got which made that year worthwhile. 2014 was my best year on the bike, because I took what I'd learned from that year and applied it in my own way. And then I had a brilliant year, 2014. So it's that external influence. We will all plateau, and we need to break through that somehow. And a lot of the times we just don't know how. And as what Nathan said, you get a different set of eyes on what you're doing. They'll see your strengths and your weaknesses.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, I must say. I mean, the kind of dawning realization that, certainly in winter, my training, I mean, it's not training at all. I kind of get off the bike after yet another hour at threshold, because I've got sucked into a group ride on Zwift, or I've done a race on Zwift. And, I kind of looked at what I was doing, and actually also began to look at why I was so tired. I was just kind of fatigued. And I look back, and it's like almost everything I do is at threshold or just under, which is you're already looking at me with that coach look in your eye.
Well, I mean, you need some variability and some accountability. There you go, variability and accountability. A little more dynamics in there, not so just. Yeah. Man, threshold. You just keep doing threshold, you can get tired, and you're gonna just have the same stress response over and over again. So I'm really glad to hear that somebody's going to get in there and kick your butt.
Well, they're going to tell me what to do, which is what I'm kind of. That's
trying
what
to
I'm
avoid
really
being
looking
told
forward
what to do.
No, I like that. I think we've discussed. I think we've had the pile of sand discussion before. That pile of sand in that corner, move it to that corner. I love things like that. Nice, simple task. Get on the bike, do that. Great. I couldn't be happier, really. It's a whole new world. A whole new world. How exciting. I'll be bringing you news of how I progress in this whole new world.
You guys are making me want to run. That's the weirdest thing in the world.
Is it really? Did you feel left out, Nathan? Or?
I really actually want to run now. I used to run a lot when in high school. After hockey and before cycling, I was running. We've got so many amazing state forests locally here. Actually, if you're around longer, I'd love to take you out for a run. For some hikes, maybe. I don't know, but we've got some really, really nice trail running here in southeastern Wisconsin, and so I used to do a ton of that after work when I was working at scooping ice cream, eating too much ice cream from the bar. Let's go over and get a run going.
Well, yeah, okay. I'm not coming for a run with you yet. But to be honest, I won't go for a bike ride with you either. Far too fast for my liking.
It's a little cold
Shane,
outside.
Shane, what are you up to, mate, before we speak next?
I have an absolute pile of things to go through, from the recent trip to the US to what's coming up, and I'm just way too busy, but I'm happy. It's all good. It's still summer here, so kilometers outside, kilometers inside, videos for YouTube, and helping people have a better experience with their new technology. It's all coming up.
Good stuff. Nathan, I've got a bit of a theory actually about, and we were talking about kind of people falling out in lumps in racing and forums getting nasty and what have you. I've got a tiny bit of a theory this time of year, having been on Zwift now for 3 years or something. I can't remember. But anyway, I mean, I've always trained indoors in winter. But this time, I think people get a bit of cabin fever. Do you know what I mean? They have been cooped up for a long time, and they're kind of...
My kids get that too.
Yeah.
I tell them to go in the basement and play hockey and punch each other. No. Go
Well, that's what they're doing in Zwift races.
You know, what they need to do is just get on the volcano course and fight it out. I mean, just get it out.
Shane, thank you very much indeed. And thanks very much for bearing with Nathan and I. Well, not me, actually. Nathan solved a bit of a technical issue that plagued us for a little while. You were very patient with us. Thank you very much. We most appreciated your patience there. Lovely to talk to you. See you next time, fella. That's it for this one. Thank you very much indeed for either listening or watching. Lots more to come. I hope I can get this piece I've shot with Nathan today edited in time, but if I can't, we'll definitely be coming up on the episode after this one. Thanks again for watching or listening. See you next time.